Deadly bus crash in Peru left 16 people dead and more than 40 others injured on Monday. Among the dead were 2 German nationals. Earlier, different Peruvian agencies gave higher fatality figures after the bus from the company Cruz del Sur crashed into 8 minibuses in the early hours of the morning in the Yauca district in Arequipa region. Some of the bodies were taken to a morgue in Arequipa because the Yauca there weren't enough refrigerators to hold the bodies. More than 40 people have been injured. Among them, a Spanish, 2 German and 2 Brazilian nationals were transported to a hospital in Nazca. According to local authorities, the bus was travelling at a high speed on a steep road in Yauca when it collided with 8 minibuses. Authorities in South Carolina are investigating the fatal shooting of an airport public safety officer in Florence. A man shot and killed the officer on Sunday morning during a traffic stop at Florence Regional Airport. Florence County Coroner Keith Von Lutken identified the victim as Jackson Ryan Winkler, who is 26 years old. According to officials, the suspect, 37-year-old James Edward Bell, initially fled but was later captured by Florence County deputies. The investigation into Winkler's slaying is ongoing. "36-year-old Reinhard Sanaga was sentenced on Monday to life in prison with a possible release after 30 years following his conviction for 159 counts of sexual offences against 48 men. The CCTV footage was shown in court during the trial. Sanaga can be seen leaving his building in May 2017 and seeking out an intoxicated victim in order to lure them back. Authorities said the evidence against Sanaga indicates he had many more victims, with roughly 195 men apparently having been filmed while being abused when they were in his apartment. Many were unconscious at the time. Sanaga used the drug GHB to immobilize his victims. Images were also released of Sanaga's apartment showing where the offense took place. Australia's Galapagos Islands has long been a refuge for some of the country's most endangered creatures, but devastating wildfires over recent days have undone decades of careful conservation work on Kangaroo Island and have threatened to wipe out some of the island's unique fauna altogether. Experts working on the island say the fires have killed thousands of koalas and kangaroos and also have raised questions about whether any members of a mouse-like marsupial species that carries its young in a pouch have survived. Similarly, it remains unclear how many from a unique flock of glossy black cockatoos got away from the flames and whether they have a future on an island where much of their habitat has gone up in smoke. Delhi police are investigating how masked men burst into a premier university in Delhi and attacked a student protest with sticks and rods. Students put out pictures of mobs entering university residential halls, their faces covered with cloth-carrying sticks and even sledgehammers. Some shouted slogans threatening death for traitors. More than 30 injured were admitted to the All India Institute of Medical Science in the capital. A hospital official confirmed, most of them with lacerations, cuts and bruises. Hundreds of thousands of mourners attended the funeral procession in Tehran for a top Iranian general who was assassinated in a U.S. strike in Baghdad last week. A coffin carrying General Qasem Soleimani's remains reached the Iranian capital's Azadi Tower monument. Iranian Foreign Minister Javed Zarif tweeted of the crowds in Tehran. On Sunday, similar-sized crowds accompanied the coffin in the Iranian cities of Ahvaz and Mashhad. The processions mark the first time Iran has honored a single man with a multi-city ceremony. He will be buried in his hometown of Kerman today. The leader of the Palestinian militant group Hamas was in Tehran attending the funeral of an Iranian general killed in a US airstrike in Iraq. In an address to Iranian mourners, Ismail Haniyeh described the slain General Qasem Soleimani as the martyr of the Revolutionary Guard's Quds force. Haniyeh vowed that Palestinian militant groups, including his that controls Gaza, will definitely win the next decisive battle against the Zionists. Haniyeh's visit to Iran was surprising. A heavy snowstorm hit most parts of Greece, disrupting the country's power supply and traffic. Shortly after the snowfall began, power supply was down on the Zakynthos Island, a famous tourist resort. Local residents said that they heard explosions coming from a transformer substation near a school. The power was restored after 5 hours of repairing. Mountainous road sections on 2 old national highways in western and eastern Athens were closed due to excessive snowfall. In addition, traffic restrictions were imposed on 3 highways connecting Athens with major cities in northwestern Greece, which forbids vehicles weighing over 1.5 tons each. Hundreds of students protested in Dhaka to demand justice for a university student who was raped a day before. Students and activists marched and linked hands demanding the arrest of the perpetrator during the protest that was held on campus at Dhaka University. Signs held up in the protest included messages such as "No mercy to rapists" and "Please tell me, am I next?" The victim was walking to a friend's place after getting off a university bus when the attack happened. She was grabbed from behind, gagged and taken to a deserted place nearby where she was attacked, according to the police. An Indonesian caught trying to sell the skin of a critically endangered Sumatran tiger has been arrested, police said on Monday, highlighting the problem of animal trafficking in the Southeast Asian country. Authorities at the northern tip of Sumatra Island arrested the man last week after he offered to sell the skin to an undercover officer posing as a buyer for 90 million rupiah, which is around $6,500. Police, who confiscated the tiger's skull as well as some bones and teeth, said they were also hunting another man who allegedly supplied the animal's parts to the suspect. Thousands of Orthodox Christian worshippers plunged into icy waters across the world on Monday to retrieve crosses tossed by priests in Epiphany ceremonies commemorating the baptism of Jesus Christ. In Istanbul, more than a dozen Orthodox men jumped into the frigid waters of the Golden Horn amid heavy rain. By tradition, the person who retrieves the wooden cross will be freed from evil spirits and will be healthy throughout the year. After the cross is fished out, the priest sprinkles believers with water using a bunch of basil. The Patriarchate in Istanbul is considered the heart of the Orthodox world and dates back to the Byzantine Empire, which collapsed when the Muslim Ottomans conquered the city in 1453. Serbian Orthodox Christians on Monday gathered in front of St. Sava Church in Belgrade to celebrate Christmas Eve by burning YULE log branches. Serbian Patriarch have followed centuries-old tradition of burning of the oak branches. The young tree symbolizes Christ and his entry to the world. The Patriarch told worshippers that Serbs in Montenegro showed unity in preserving the Orthodox and Serbian faith. Serb protesters have alleged a religion rights bill that was adopted last month by the Montenegrin parliament, which will lead to the impounding of Serbian Orthodox church property in Montenegro. The officials have repeatedly denied the claim. The Serbian Orthodox Church and its believers are marking the Christmas celebrations that have gone by according to the Julian calendar.
Aș licurados.
Orthodox believers in Russia celebrated Christmas on Monday night as hundreds of Christian worshippers stood shoulder to shoulder for the Orthodox Christmas service at Moscow's Cathedral of Christ the Savior. Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev and his wife attended the service that was held by Russian Patriarch Kirill. Russian President Vladimir Putin joined the Christmas service at St. Petersburg's Transfiguration Cathedral, where he was baptized in secrecy during Soviet times. The Russian Orthodox, like several other Orthodox denominations, observe Christmas on January the 7th because it retained the Julian calendar. The Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem arrived at the West Bank city of Bethlehem, where he will celebrate Christmas according to the Eastern calendar by leading midnight mass at the Church of the Nativity. Worshippers and pilgrims gathered outside the church, believed by Christians to be the birthplace of Jesus Christ, and enjoyed marching bands and a festive atmosphere while awaiting the Patriarch's arrival. The Patriarch was greeted by religious clergy and Palestinian officials. The Church of the Nativity is shared by various Eastern denominations, including the ancient Assyrian Church, the Greek Orthodox, Armenian and the Coptic Church. Leaders from the various churches arrive every year at the church to kick off their Christmas Eve celebrations.